Deep in the misty forests, bordering the quaint English village of Eldridge Hollow, in the year 1725, young Thomas Hargrove gripped his musket tighter, his breath fogging the chill autumn air. He was no stranger to the hunt. Deer and foxes had fed his family for years, but tonight felt different. The trees whispered secrets, their branches clawing at the fading twilight like skeletal fingers. Thomas, a sturdy teenager of 17 with calloused hands from farm work, had ventured deeper than usual, chasing an elusive stag that promised meat for the harsh winter ahead. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, a low growl echoed not from any beast he knew, but from something unseen slithering through the underbrush. His heart pounded, run or fight. Before he could decide, a child's piercing scream shattered the silence, pulling him toward the danger like an invisible thread. Picture yourself there, alone in that darkening wood, the weight of uncertainty pressing on your chest. Would you freeze or charge ahead, driven by that raw instinct to protect? Thomas chose the latter, his boots crunching over fallen leaves as he plunged toward the cry. Eldridge Hollow had long been plagued by whispers of vanishings, children snatched from their beds or playgrounds, never to return. Parents bolted doors at dusk, but it did little good. Thomas's own sister, little Eliza, had disappeared 2 moons ago, her laughter silenced forever. The villagers blamed wolves or gypsies, but deep down they knew it was something older, something cursed. As Thomas burst into a small clearing, he stumbled upon a sight that froze his blood. A circle of ancient stones overgrown with ivy, and in its center, a shadowy figure hovering over a trembling boy no older than 10. The shadow wasn't human. It rippled like smoke, eyes glowing with an unearthly hunger. The boy, wide-eyed and dirt-streaked, was Jem, the miller's son, who had wandered off playing earlier that day. "Get away from him!" Thomas bellowed, raising his musket. The shadow turned, its form twisting into a grotesque parody of a woman's face, wailing a sound that echoed through his soul. He fired, the shot ringing out, but the bullet passed harmlessly through the apparition, embedding in a tree trunk. The shadow lunged, its icy tendrils grazing his skin, burning like frostbite. Thomas grabbed Jem and bolted, the boy's sobs mixing with the pursuing whispers that seemed to call their names. They crashed through the forest, branches whipping their faces, until the village lights flickered ahead. Eldridge Hollow nestled in a valley, its thatched roofs and cobblestone streets a haven from the wilds. But safety was an illusion. Thomas burst into the village square, Jem clutched to his chest, gasping for air. Villagers gathered, men like old farmer Wilkins with his pitchfork, women like widow Hargrove, Thomas's mother, her face etched with worry, and teenagers clustering in fearful groups. "It's the shadows again," Thomas panted, collapsing to his knees. "They've come for the children." Word spread like wildfire through the huddled homes. The village priest, Father Elias, a gaunt man in his 50s, with a voice like thunder, emerged from the stone church at the square's edge. "The devil's work," he muttered, clutching his rosary. Beside him stood Sister Agnes, a stern nun from the nearby abbey, her habit fluttering in the rising wind. They had heard the tales. Generations ago, the village had been built on the ruins of a pagan temple where rituals summoned spirits that hungered for innocence. The disappearances weren't random, they were a harvest, reaping the young to feed ancient grudges. As the crowd murmured, a bishop arrived unannounced. Bishop Harlan, sent from London after reports of the vanishings reached the church hierarchy. Tall and imposing, with a silver cross gleaming on his chest, he dismounted his horse, his eyes scanning the fearful faces. "Gather your bravest. We face not beasts, but haunted souls bound to this land. We'll hunt them down, protect the remaining children with faith and fire." Feel that spark of hope, mixed with dread, the promise that unity could turn the tide, yet knowing one wrong step might doom you all. The villagers formed a group, arming themselves with what they had: crosses carved from oak, vials of holy water blessed that very night, rosaries wrapped around wrists like talismans. Sister Agnes distributed herbs from the Malleus Maleficarum, ancient remedies like vervain and rue, said to ward off spectral attacks. "Burn them in lanterns," she instructed, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. Thomas, still shaken, joined the hunt, his musket reloaded, Jem safely bundled away with the other children in the church's cellar, guarded by watchful women. They set out at midnight, torches flickering against the encroaching fog. The forest swallowed them whole, paths twisting like veins. Bishop Harlan led, chanting prayers that echoed unnaturally loud. "In nomine Patris," he intoned, splashing holy water on the ground. The group moved in formation, men at the front, teenagers scouting flanks, nuns and priests weaving blessings, but the woods fought back. The first twist came swiftly. A sudden storm erupted from clear skies, thunder cracking like whips, rain lashing their faces. Lightning illuminated grotesque shapes in the trees, twisted branches forming faces, eyes watching. "It's them," a teenager shouted, pointing to a shadow detaching from a trunk, slithering toward them. The shadow attacked, coiling around Farmer Wilkins' legs, pulling him down with a scream. He thrashed, his pitchfork useless against the intangible form. Thomas hurled his vial of holy water, the liquid hissing on contact, forcing the shadow to recoil with a shriek that split the air. Wilkins scrambled up, gasping, but the assault had scattered the group. Panic rippled through them, reciprocity in action, each saving another, binding them tighter. "Stay together," Bishop Harlan roared, his cross held high, glowing faintly in the storm's fury. Deeper they pressed, the storm's rage fueling their desperation. The air grew thick with whispers, names of the lost children, Eliza's among them, calling for help. Thomas's heart ached, that curiosity gnawing. Were they alive? Trapped in some spectral realm? They reached a cave mouth, yawning like a beast's maw, hidden behind a waterfall now swollen by the rain. Ancient carvings adorned its entrance, symbols from the old temple, depicting souls devoured by darkness. Inside, the cave amplified every sound, drips like heartbeats, echoes of distant cries. Torches sputtered in the damp air, revealing walls etched with faded murals of rituals long forgotten. The second twist unfolded as they delved deeper. A chorus of screams erupted from the shadows, not echoes, but real. Ghosts materialized, translucent children, their forms flickering, eyes hollow with torment. They weren't attacking, they were pleading, reaching out with tiny hands. "Help us," one whispered, a girl resembling Eliza. Thomas stepped forward, tears stinging, but Sister Agnes pulled him back. "Illusions, the spirits deceive to draw us in." A woman among them, Mary, the baker's wife, couldn't resist. She lunged toward a ghostly boy, her son lost weeks earlier. The ghost's touch drained her, her skin paling as if life ebbed away. The group surged, Father Elias swinging his rosary like a whip, the beads striking the apparition and dispersing it in a wail. They formed a circle, burning the herbs in a makeshift fire, the acrid smoke repelling the ghosts. But the effort cost them. Mary collapsed, weakened, forcing the others to carry her, slowing their pace. The cave narrowed into a chamber, the heart of the ancient temple. Altars stood cracked and moss-covered, surrounded by swirling mists. Here, the third conflict ignited. Thunder from the storm outside shook the cave, dislodging rocks that blocked their exit. Trapped, they faced the source, a massive shadow entity coalescing from the walls, a bishop's twisted reflection perhaps, the soul of a long-dead heretic who once led the pagan rites. It roared, summoning spirits of haunted souls, ghosts of adults and children alike, attacking in waves. The climax erupted in chaos, a life or death frenzy, Bishop Harlan charged, his silver cross thrusting like a sword, piercing the entity's core. "By the light of God," he shouted, holy water splashing in arcs. Shadows clawed at him, tearing his robes, drawing blood. Thomas and the teenagers formed a hunting pack, circling with torches and herbs, their flames singeing the apparitions. Father Elias and Sister Agnes chanted exorcisms, rosaries glowing hot. A spirit lunged at Thomas, its face morphing into Eliza's, whispering temptations of reunion. He hesitated, the pull of loss nearly overwhelming, but Jem's earlier rescue flashed in his mind, the promise of protecting the living. He smashed his cross against it, the wood splintering but banishing the ghost. The entity swelled, engulfing the chamber in darkness, thunder echoing as if the storm raged within. Villagers